Joe's Tech Breakdown. Today, I'd like to try something a little bit different, and I'd like to go through the tools that I use every day. Some of the most important tools that I have are basic, regular Phillips head screwdrivers. I can take almost anything apart with these. Having them in different sizes helps. This one is also a flathead. Some repairs, I just take this with me, and that's all I need. Some repairs, I just take this. As you progress as a technician, you'll find yourself accumulating more and more tools. Some are special, like this flathead and angled Phillips head, for hard to reach places. I've had to use this quite a few times. This one doesn't have a point. We can use it for prying, poking, pushing, ejecting a CD from an old CD-ROM drive. Whatever we need where a sharp tip might be detrimental. Sometimes a good old pair of pliers is all you need. This pair of needle nose pliers also has some wire cutters built in, so I don't have a separate set of wire cutters. Sometimes you may find yourself in a situation where you've dropped a screw. This extendable magnet will help you get to that screw. It's very strong. That brings us to our next tool, the regular pocket knife. It doesn't have to be particularly sharp, but I'll tell you what, I've used this for almost everything other than cutting. A flashlight is a great tool. Hard to see places, black screws on black plastic. A small flashlight is a must. Additionally, a small magnet is a must. Sometimes you drop a screw and it's down back behind something, and you just can't get it with the extendable magnet. This is a plug tester, more specifically a circuit tester. When plugged in, if the circuit has been wired correctly, these two amber lights should turn on. If there's something wrong, use the label to find out what might be wrong. Many times when someone says that their equipment won't power on, it's because of a faulty plug. I keep this in my work bag to rule out any problems with the equipment that I'm working on. Speaking of ruling out problems with your equipment, this is a power supply tester. On this side is a 24-pin Molex motherboard connector, the same one that you would find on your motherboard. If you have a power supply and you're not sure it's giving you the correct voltages, you can take the main plug for the motherboard and plug it into this tester. The tester will automatically turn the power supply on and then read out the values which it sees. 3.3 volt, 12 volt, some gibberish I can't read because this thing is so old. You get the idea. It also has a SATA power connector, a regular 4-pin Molex connector, a 4-pin floppy drive connector, as well as a 6, 4, and 8-pin connector. The 4-pin connector is part of the 8-pin connector. And it'll tell you on the left-hand side here what voltages it sees. Very handy if your computer or other device isn't powering on and you want to rule out your power supply as the culprit. This device here is a cables-to-go graphics adapter. This is great if you have a damaged graphics card and not a spare, or if you're looking to add another monitor onto an existing setup. It's no good for playing video games. Here I have my multimeter. This tester primarily lets me make sure that the DC voltage that I'm expecting through a particular connection is there, and also lets me check for continuity. This particular one is a Harbor Freight special. They gave it away with a purchase of $50 or more. But it works. Nicer versions have a specific continuity test that also beeps when there's continuity. Some of the things I'm asked to go out and check are cables, network cables to be specific. Here is a brand new, never been used, well, lightly used, Cat5 Ethernet cable. And the tester allows me to check and see if the cable works. Currently, my tester does not have a battery. But if it did, turning this on would cycle the lights 1 through 8 and ground, and would show up 1 through 8 and ground over here if there's a connection. This is my bag of screws. Sometimes you lose a screw. It's best to have a spare, or in my case, 50. This is a 2.5 SATA and an M.2 or NVMe drive SATA port, and it connects to a USB Type-C. This lets me take an M.2 drive, slot it in here, and then connect this to a computer for data recovery. I can also hook it up directly to a hard drive and do the same. This one's fairly new, and it only connects to SATA and M.2 SATA. I haven't tried it with an actual NVMe drive yet, but I suspect it'll work. For older drives, I have this connector. It still goes from SATA to USB, but also includes the old IDE standard for old IDE hard drives. These are the hard drives that used to use the big wide gray ribbons to connect. It plugs in like so. And in case you're wondering, yes, there is a separate power adapter just to power it. It's kind of a clunky setup, but it does work. Before I get to my iFixit kit, I'll show one last very important thing. This is all USB jump drives. Some of these contain images, some of these contain diagnostic software. This is just a micro SD to USB adapter. And this is a USB Type-C to USB Type-A adapter, in case I need to connect one of these to my phone. Last but not least is my IFixit Toolkit. This kit was given to me by my father over 10 years ago. IFixit no longer makes this set. Boy, I wish they did. In it is almost everything you would need to fix, well, everything. We have case crackers, which allow you to pry open the sides of a case. We have hemostats. If you've seen my PS3, teardown video, you'll recognize these. We have a screwdriver, which is excellent for grabbing small things in tight places, and a trio of precision tweezers. In my kit, everything has a place. And it kind of has to. If something doesn't go back where it belongs, I might not know where it is. In the Velcro pocket, I have a lint-free cloth for cleaning glass and screens. And I also have a suction cup. The suction cup is for removing screens off of tablets and phones, and some really compact laptops. On the right side, I have my driver from IFixit, a couple of spudgers, although I think this one needs to be replaced, a precision Phillips head screwdriver, a smaller precision Phillips head screwdriver. I use these in places where the tip needs to be long and may not fit into some small tight spaces. This screwdriver can fit almost completely into a space that this one cannot. I have 3 pry tools of various types and designs. I believe these came with the kit, though I could be wrong. And, just in case, the instructions to my multimeter. Last is the driver set. The driver set for this IFixit Toolkit came with almost anything that I could imagine. It came with its own IFixit driver, with a head that rotates. This way you can put it in your palm and apply force while turning. You haven't seen me use this one previously because the head kept falling off, but I think I've got that fixed. Came with a 2.5-inch extension. You've seen me use this quite frequently with the other driver, and that's because the magnet that's in here is much more powerful than the magnet in here. I'd lose screws if I didn't use it. This allows me to attach any of my tools to a regular hex driver. Then I could attach this to a drill if I so pleased. The top row are hex drivers from 2.5 to 5 millimeters in 0.5 millimeter increments. Next are the hex drivers. These are 6-sided drivers from 3 millimeter to 6 millimeter in 0.5 millimeter increments, except the 5.5. The 2 drivers on the right here are a Y-style driver, also known as a tri-point. I have a Y1 and a Y0. And then I have the torque spits. T7 through T20 are security torque spits, and T5, 4, and 3 are regular torque spits. That's because the bits are too small to fit a hole in. Next up are the square drivers. These are just square. These three are 5-point star drives. The reason for all of these strange and unusual bit points is because sometimes manufacturers like to put in proprietary or weird, strange, or uncommon tips in order to prevent users from taking the device apart. Here are some more smaller hex tips. Flatheads in varying sizes. Phillips heads in varying sizes, except this one, which is just a triangle. If you've ever tried to take apart a McDonald's toy from a McDonald's Happy Meal, you'll recognize what this is for. Last, we have 2 more flathead tips that are bigger than the others, and 4 J or Japanese style tips. The Japanese style tips are 4-point just like the Phillips heads, and quite frequently will work for Phillips head screws, as will Phillips heads work for J-type screws. However, the cut angle of the tip is different for the J style. If you're working on something that was manufactured in Japan, it almost certainly uses the J-style screw. Your Phillips head screwdriver will work, but it'll cam out and cause damage. This is my Phillips head 0 tip. As you can see, my tip is badly damaged. That's because I used this on a J-style screw. And that's it. That covers all the tools that I use every day working as a technician. If you like this video and would like to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. I'll link as many of these items down below as I can, and I hope you have a great day.